Here are two versions of the exact same track. See if you can spot the one thing that makes the drums in track A sound like they were made by a complete beginner. The rhythm and processing there are pretty much exactly the same, so what's the difference?
Sound selection.
That's right! Choosing the right sounds in your drums is the one thing that's going to skyrocket your drum production faster than anything else. In this video, I'll take you through the journey of what it actually looks like to get better at sound selection. And then after that, I'll take you step by step through my process as I select the drum sounds for a hip hop track. Let's do it. This is a painting by Claude Monet. Look how beautifully the colors work together. What is that?
It's a color.
Well, it's a shit color.
I don't know, bro. How can a color be shit? It's just a color.
Little Seb's got a point here. While it does look like a shit color's just been plonked down on this masterpiece to ruin it, take a look at where he got the color from. Sounds are just like colors. There's no such thing as a low quality sound. It's just basically finding the sound which fits in the context of the world we're trying to build in the track. So have a listen to the drums in this track right here. So drums like that would have been made by a beginner. If we're continuing with that paint analogy, they would have just gone to the paint thing, chosen different colors that they think work together, but because they're a beginner and they haven't had time to refine their taste together, they wouldn't be able to put things together which actually works. So the quick fix to get out of that beginner stage in kind of a superficial way is to choose a color palette or a sample pack or a drum kit that's been made or curated by someone who's more experienced than you are. This is what that would sound like. If the percussion there sounds familiar, it's because it's from a spinning pack every house and dance producer in the last 10 years has probably used. So yeah, if I solo the drum group, you'll notice that the drums there actually sound pretty good together. But as soon as I bring in the other sounds, you'll notice that they sound disconnected from the rest of the track. Like the track's calling for more subtle, more organic, and slightly more emotional sounding stuff. This is kind of a bit too, you know? Sometimes you can't even put a finger on what's wrong, but it's just not quite right. So to fix this, you could just find some melodic loops from the same spinning pack and chuck them on top and get rid of whatever vibe you've just created and literally plagiarize the spinning sound. B, hope that there's a percussion pack out there on Splice which actually perfectly fits your melodic elements and all the other parts of your thing. Or C, try and shoehorn this track by processing it to oblivion so that it fits with the melodic elements that you've got here. Or you could graduate from the beginner stage and move into the I kind of know what I'm doing sometimes, maybe, stage. Let's explore that. So what we've done here is we've listened to our other elements, we've drawn inspiration from other tracks that we love that give similar vibes to what we're going for here, and then we've gone searching for samples from different areas which complement the house vibe that we've got going. We haven't created a new color palette entirely because we're still using the kind of house template, which is like 4/4 kick and clap with some shakers and whatever. But we've extended beyond the simply using a single sample pack where we know all the sounds are going to fit together. It takes a lot more work to begin with, and you've got to use your ears as well, but soon enough it'll become automatic and you'll be able to do it in every track, and all your drums will actually be tailored to the track. So now, let's go through that process in a genre which I'm pretty new to in hip hop. So So I made that track a little while ago, and when I made it, I was completely obsessed with this song by Mac Miller and the feelings that it gave me. I knew that I had to learn the rules of the genre before I could break them, and I had to understand the sounds that went into this track if I wanted to recreate something like it. I could have just gone out there and like found a sample pack or a drum kit which kind of suited the vibe I was going for, but I knew I wanted that exact kind of feeling. So instead, I decided to listen. Let's do that now. All right, this is Thoughts from a Balcony. This is the kick. This is the snare. This is some of the random stuff happening in the middle. So what I hear there is a relatively subby kick with no real click in the high end, a snare and clap combo, which is kind of like layered together, and then some live hi-hats and a live drum break, which kind of provide the foundation of the vibe. In the drums in most genres, you can pretty safely assume you're gonna have these four elements, but when you listen to them, what you're listening for is the character and texture of each of these elements. When I'm listening for character, I'm listening for three separate things. So I'm listening for time. How long is it? Does it have a long tail or is it really short and snappy? Texture. Is it more of a live sound with some imperfections in there, or is it more of a synthesized sound from a drum machine or somewhere else, which is really clean? And then frequency. Does it kind of occupy one section of the frequency spectrum, or does it kind of go everywhere? At the start, you might have to do this stuff more consciously, but as you go along, it'll become really automatic. And not only that, you'll recognize sounds. So for example, I know that this is an 808 clap. I'm never gonna mistake that for something else, just like how you know this sound and could never mistake it for something else. So once I've listened to the track or genre I'm going for and have a rough idea of what the elements sound like, splice is your best friend. Say I want to get that snare. So I'll go snare and I'll click hip hop. Here we've already got heaps of different sounding stuff. We got like... So I wanted something snappy and kind of acoustic. So this one sounds like it could work. So what I do now is download the sound, drag it over into Ableton onto my drum track, and play it with the rest of the drums and see what it sounds like. So that one doesn't kind of work, so I'd go back, try another one. Something like this could definitely work. I ended up going with the snare which sounded like this. So it's quite similar. So and then once we've got that, remember the snare had a kind of hand clap tail layered behind it. So we go back up here, we'd search for hand clap, and then we just listen. So something like that could definitely work. Play it with the rest of the track. Sounds alright. So just like that, we've got a snare which works with the rest of our drums and it works with the rest of our track. Let's do the same thing with the kick. So something like that definitely sounds like it could work. Remember, I heard that there were some live loops in there, so I got some live hi-hat loops. And then I got a live drum break and chopped it up a little bit. And a ride cymbal. Woo. Works. If you didn't have the melodic elements to begin with, that's alright. You can start with the drum beat, and then the sounds which you bring for the melodic elements will match what you've already made in the drum beat. So the more drums you actively listen to and pay attention to the textures of, the more palettes that you'll build up in your head. So best of all now, I know the sort of stuff which goes into like a slightly boom bap hip hop track which gives me the vibe which I've got in my head. I might not be able to describe it like you fucking clearly just heard. But I know the elements which will make it sound good, and I know these elements that'll work together. And guess what? Remember back to the beginning of the video when I showed you a track which had drum sounds that just didn't work? Well, guess where those drum sounds came from? Fuck yeah.
It's not gonna color be shit, it's just a color.
So you might notice that there's still one section at the top of the diagram that we haven't covered yet. What we've been doing in this video falls in the middle because we're still drawing upon pre-made color palettes and extending beyond them rather than grabbing random sounds from different places and bringing them all together. That's what the people at the top are doing. These people become masters of sound selection and sound design, finding sounds from random places which fit together but no one would have ever thought that they would. The reason we haven't really explored this section is because most artists actually don't ever move into this section, and most artists never actually want to. I, for one, don't think I'll ever even try to move into this innovator section because I feel like if I simplify my drums, it'll speed up my workflow and it'll bring a familiar element to my music. So the goal of this video was never to explore the stuff at the top in the innovator section. It was more to move you from that beginner section into the middle section where you're exploring color palettes and your drums sound a lot better than they did to start with. So that's pretty much it. Obviously there are a bunch of other techniques which I haven't touched on here, not to mention like rhythm, which is pretty important for drums. But as a beginner, I feel like if you haven't got sound selection down, all the other things can't make that much difference. So this was a huge breakthrough for me. Let me know if it helped. Let me know if you think differently and you think something else is more important. And let me know if you want me to touch on some of those other techniques as well.
If you enjoyed the video, I'd implore you to watch another one.
Okay,
Please,
that's
watch
enough,
another
Seb.
one. Do it.
We
Watch
can,
one.
yeah,
Do it.
okay, thanks. All right. Bye.